should be a vertical ellipse instead of...
Okay. I don't know. I'm lost. Okay, so what was it like to live in the 1940s? Like
What? I'm sorry.
What was it like to live during the Great Depression? Or like to live through it?
You didn't have any money, and we had to buy all our groceries on the base because it was cheaper. But one day we made a big mistake. We bought a gallon. We thought it was regular sausage. It was Vienna sausage, and we didn't have any money to buy any other meat for the month. And we had to eat Vienna sausage, and I've never looked at one since. But you had to do without. I know we bought bicycles because we didn't have a car, and we rode bicycles until he made a promotion when we were then making $84 a month. And we went to the bank to see if we found a car we could buy for $50. It was, of course, a used one, and it had a rumble seat in the back. We had more fun. We went to Daytona Beach after church every Sunday, played poker. But we burnt our fannies one time, and it was Sunday when we'd go after church. But we had to be back because my husband was president of the evening class for young people. And the whole gang of us couldn't sit down. Our fannies was so. But anyway, it was, we were fortunate. Things were much cheaper. We could go to the movies for 10 cents, buy milk. No, we couldn't buy, I'm in the States. You could buy milk 10 cents a quart. And everything was cheap, but your salary, you wasn't getting much money. But you had to watch buying clothes and all. But back then, I was so sick, and John called the doctor on the base, and the doctor came out to the house. That's after we'd been married for about 9 months, and he said, "There's nothing wrong with you, you're pregnant." And so I said, "Oh my goodness," and we're going on vacation. "Where are you going?" "Pennsylvania." And he said, "Well, you'll go, but you'll be sick." So anyway, we went to Pennsylvania to John's folks. They had a big dairy farm. And then we came back, and when Mary Lou was born, we had a lot of fun because he met a family, and the soldiers he ran around with dated this family. The girls, it was 17 kids in the family. And they had a lot of fun, and so I had a lot of fun. But when the baby was born, Mary Lou, he went in to tell him the baby was born, and they were playing Mary Lou, the song. They had it real loud. They said, "What did you name the baby?" "Oh, I named her Mary Lou." That was funny. But anyway, when he came, he saw the baby, and the next morning he was there bright and early, and he left me.
He left?
He drove up to Massachusetts, and he said, "Don't come till the doctor says it's okay." I didn't tell the doctor like I should have. And I got a ticket they gave me a ticket to go up there. They packed whatever I had and sent it up. But he got permission to have the car heated, the heater going right in front of the train station. So then he already had me quarters on the base, so we had someplace to go. But anyway, we stayed there a while, and then he was ordered to New York. But you couldn't do anything, go anywhere, because you didn't have the money. But like the Empire State Building, it didn't cost anything to go there way back then. Because we stayed till 43. And then we were ordered to New Egypt, New Jersey. And we weren't there too long. And I got orders to leave because he was going to a secret port to go overseas. He went to North Africa first and then Italy. But his brother came and drove me back to Pennsylvania. And I stayed there a while. But anyway, I had 2 little babies. Mary Lou was just 2-something when her sister was born. But anyway, when he came back, no, we were in New York too after that. Yeah. I've moved so many times you get confused because I lived in New York City 2 different times, in Long Island, New York 2 times, moving each time. But then when he went overseas and left me, I stayed in Pennsylvania a little bit. Then I went to Texas. But in Pennsylvania, my father-in-law took me to Pittsburgh to catch the train to Dallas, Texas. And the man issuing my ticket said, "Lady, you're traveling, and what? Don't you know there's a war going on?" And that made me so mad because I said, "I have a husband fighting in the war and 2 brothers fighting in the war. Yes, I'm aware there is a war. But he left me and I have to go where I'm going." And so then I went from Texas, I went to Orlando, Florida again, and had Judy there, my other daughter. And then this is in 1945. He came back from Italy, and you could rent an apartment then for $25 a month, and that included your utilities. So I had just rented a nice little apartment in Florida, Orlando, and I picked up the paper one morning, and on the front page was CWO John F. Galley will land today, and named the ship and everything. And he thought I was still in Pennsylvania. And I moved to Florida because Mary Lou was wearing braces from above her knees to the bottom of her feet on both legs, and we had to sleep together. And she kicked me. I was black and blue. So I thought, well, I'll go to Florida and maybe I can get a place we can each have a bed. But, I've lived so many places. But anyway, things were tough. We went on rations, and I still have 1 ration book. And at that time, I never drank coffee. And in Pennsylvania, I had an apartment with upstairs in this house, and the family was sharing some rooms. So anyway, I had a place to cook and everything, and a nice yard for the children. But I didn't drink coffee. And then all you had to do is make a list of groceries and call it in, and they'd deliver them to you. Of course, you had to pay. But I didn't drink coffee, so I gave the coupons to the landlady, and she was so thrilled because they never had enough of coupons. I'll dig out the coupon book and show it to you. I have 1. I should have kept more. But gas was rationed. I didn't have a car, so the streetcar in Pennsylvania stopped right in front of the house, I had to take Mary Lou into Pittsburgh every day. But things were rough. I mean, people, well, we were lucky we had enough to eat, and when we were on base, we had quarters. But like New York City, we had to get our own apartment. And I tell you, but then he came home, he called his folks, and when he found out I wasn't in Pennsylvania, and they told him, well, she left a few days ago to go to Florida. And so he got my telephone number and everything and called me. And he said, if you haven't unpacked, don't unpack. Says, we're moving to California. So, but now prior to 40, things were real rough because people, you know, the government formed WPA to put people to work. And that's the only way they had money. They didn't have the welfare like they have now. They put them to work to do a particular job, like on the roads and things like that. And so they had money to buy food, but not too much money. But anyway, we got to California, and he had been to California before. When he graduated from high school, he hitchhiked to California because he had his mother's folks in Carmel. So anyway, he tried, then now I'm backtracking, so I better shut up.
Oh, it's fine.
But when he got to Carmel, his uncle played golf with the base commander where John would be if he could get in the service. But the two guys played golf together, and John couldn't get in for flat feet he had. And they were real particular on physical. But anyway, he called a friend in Washington and got a special waiver for John so he could get in the service. But anyway, going back to when he came back from over the war, we said if we ever made $100 a month, we would be way up there, thinking we'd have a big head because we was getting so much money compared to 66. But anyway, it was rough, but it wasn't as bad with John and I because we had to watch pennies. We couldn't go and buy soft drinks and go to the movies and all that, but just once or twice a month we'd splurge. But anyway, I've moved a lot. But to me it wasn't rough because prior to 1940, everybody was broke. Nobody had any money. So you didn't realize that you were poor. Because before the war, before the Depression, my family had plenty, and then all of a sudden everything was knocked down to nothing. But anyway, I've had a busy life. But he didn't want to be stationed in Texas because he'd heard rumors that it was a bad place. You know, it was hot and dry and everything. But see, to me this isn't helping you on the Depression.
I just have questions. I was waiting for you to.
Okay.
Okay. How did the war impact your life? Like during the war and when it started?
I didn't understand you at first.
How did the war impact your life?
Oh, it was terrible. We was stationed after we got married in Orlando, Florida. We had quarters on the base, and it was all right, except you was separate. I was separated for a long time from him when Judy was born, and I had to pinch all those pennies. I think I got about $200 a month then. And I had 2 little girls to feed and clothe and take care of. But it didn't seem to bother me because during the Depression, if you had any money, you had to watch it. You had to spend it wisely, I should say, or you couldn't eat. But I was able to pay rent. By then, rent went up a little with the war. We even had gasoline rationed. I didn't have a car, but people with a car. But no, it was, people are complaining about, but you know it's a war on, so why complain about it? And I had 2 little girls to take care of. So it made it rough, but you didn't complain. I mean, I read more complaints in the paper today than I did when the war was going on and I was all alone.
What did you think of the racism during this time?
What?
What did you think of the racism during this time?
The races?
Racism?
Well, in Alabama, we had a maid, and she would take me to town because I was the youngest one and she couldn't leave me home. And she had to do shopping. And I was real mad because the buses, here's white and here's black seated on the bus. She had to sit me right where it ended on white, and she had to sit where it began with the black people. And I thought that was terrible. In Orlando, they had a section they allowed the black people to shop. They weren't supposed to go where the white people shop. And they had their own college. But the bathrooms, you know, if they were traveling around the town, they couldn't go to the bathrooms for the white people. They had to go find one that says for black people only, white people only. They couldn't eat in the restaurants. They treated them terrible, I thought. And I don't know. I resented all that, and I still do. But I would never go back and live down there in Alabama, where I was born.
Was it hard to find a job back during the 1940s?
You know, I never looked for a job. Well, I worked after school, and then I got married, so I never thought about working until after John died. I went to work. I had to go back to college, and then I got the first job I applied for in LA County.
So the money that you got to live off of was from John?
What?
The money you got to live off of was from John?
Yes. But you didn't go out blowing it.
When the war started, what happened to the churches? Did people stop going to church, or?
Oh, we went to church every Sunday. But when he went overseas, I couldn't manage 2 little babies going to church, so I didn't go too much then, just once in a while. But when he came home, every Sunday we went to church. See, we had a church on the base, and the chaplain was in the service. And we would go every Sunday. But we started playing bridge, and we played bridge all the time. But after well, that's way beyond the 40s. But, you know, in my mind, going through the 30s and then getting married and all and not having much money, it didn't bother me because we just had to conserve. We couldn't buy everything. But during the Depression, I couldn't even buy a penny Tootsie Roll. Now I could buy a train load. But it's funny how all that. But what I think is so bad, this happened while your grandpa Galley was overseas. He was on the front line fighting, and the Red Cross, I mean, he gave blood all the time. And they charged him for coffee and donut. And then when my son James was 2 years old, John had given blood all the time. Every time he could give blood, he gave blood. And we were in Cleveland, Ohio. We went there special for James because he had his lungs were coming out under his ribs and he was in a bad shape. And anyway, they said he was going to need blood and it'd be $25 a pint, and the Red Cross says, you know, that we'd had to pay for it. And he said, I showed you my card. Well, we can't accept that. That's the Red Cross.
So you had to pay to get blood for surgery even though he donates blood all the time? That's terrible.
I would never give a penny to the Red Cross. Salvation Army I would, but not the Red Cross. Because, you know, we were so poor. We had saved $80. That's what it cost to have the doctor examine James. And so we went to the hospital, and his first question was, why haven't you taken this child to a doctor? Tears came in my eyes. I said the Air Force called in 23 specialists, and they couldn't come to the same conclusion, any of them. And he said, well, you know why? There's 5 surgeons in the country that can do this type surgery. I'm one of them. But I'm leaving tomorrow on vacation. And so he found out we were in the service, or my husband was. And he said, but you know what? I'm going to stay and operate on him for you. And I'll stay, but I want you to stay around for 30 days. But he had relatives up there, so it was all right. But I was upset about that because he was just 2 years old. But they split him and put wires in him like that to pull him out. But, oh, that was a terrible day. But anyway, they had to, the doctor said, I'll tell you what, says you don't have to pay me. Are you up?
I was just making sure I was recording. I thought that would be really funny if it wasn't recording the entire time. Sorry, continue.
But anyway, the doctor was real nice. When we left him at the hospital and went back to Pennsylvania to his folks, and John's father said, where's my boy? And he says, he's going to be operated on in the morning. And he said, how are you going to pay for that? Because all we had was the $80 for the doctor's first visit. And he said, I'm going to the bank and see if I can borrow some money. And his dad says, you will not borrow money. I'll give you a blank check. I want the hospital bill and the doctor bill paid. So that was a blessing. Boy, I paid him back so quick because we went on TDY, and of course you make extra money then, and I sent all that back to his father. But it was some rough times there because you didn't have money.
Did they update you on the war at all? Like anything that was going on?
Well, I listened to the news on the radio, that's all I had. But they didn't even tell me he was coming on home because the war ended he was due to go to Japan, the Far East, somewhere in the Far East. And they changed their mind and brought the ship home to Massachusetts. That's where he got off and had to come to Florida. But gosh, that's been so long ago.
Why did you leave America for Japan?
Because my husband had orders to go to Japan.
So the last place you lived was Japan?
What?
The last place you lived was Japan?
Overseas. First we went to Guam, and we stayed there a while. But that was nice there. But, they had typhoons there. And what was so funny in Japan, we had quarters, but there was no window panes, no screens, no window panes. And they had big old thick wooden louvers on the windows. They did have windows. I'm sorry. But, wait a minute. It was Guam that they had those louvers. We were stationed in Guam, and we went on a 30-day cruise, and a typhoon came, and the neighbors went in and put all the furniture in the middle of the house and closed all those wooden so the rain wouldn't. But in Japan, we had window panes that they didn't put putty around them so that when the wind blew, that it wouldn't break them. They left space. But anyway, Japan was a fun place. We saw a lot of good shows on the Ginza, and they had a steakhouse there in Tokyo that you selected your steak, and that was the floor you went on for steak. I don't think she's getting what she wants.
No, it's fine, please.
I'm
This-
afraid
this
the battery's
is
going to run out,
odd.
so I thought I would come in and check and plug it in.
So, how did people act or feel emotionally during this time?
In Japan,
No, in America. During the 1940s.
well, they wished the war was over, but everybody tried to help people then. But now, I mean, one neighbor would help another neighbor and all. But the Air Force, of course, stuck together like you can't believe. But no, and I lived alone in different places, but I had to go to Pennsylvania though. While I went to Florida, and you looking for a plug?
I'm just looking for where this plugs in on the camera.
I
I
went
don't
to
think that was it.
Florida because of Mary Lou's braces. And then Judy had a problem and had to have raw milk. So I had to go back to Pennsylvania and live for a while. I've moved so many times. But her grandfather said, bring her here. I will supply her with raw milk because he had a dairy. But see, I'm mixing up. I can't stay on the same.
Okay. Time out for a second.
Well, that's fine. I asked
'Cause
all
you're-
my questions.
Okay. Maybe this is what works.
But it does help, Grandma. Thank you.
Do you have more?
But I don't think I rambled on too much.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But I'll tell
Don't
you-
tell her any good stories until I plug this back in.
Remember to take it off of record if it has 34 minutes left on it.
Okay. There's the power play.
Did they close down any of the churches? Like any of the churches in the area? Did they just run out of money and have to close down?
Not then. Of course, we just went to the church on base. But no, they didn't. When I was a little kid, we went to church, Sunday school and church. But no, I know when I was a little girl. Have you heard of the Holy Rollers?
Nope.
Well, we would go. I had twin brothers 2 years older than me, and we would go for a walk. We'd tell our parents, and we'd go where this Holy Roller church was. That wasn't the name of it, but they get on the floor. We'd peek in the windows at them. But no, we didn't go to civilian churches. Just on the base, it was non-denominational. But no, they didn't squabble about religion at all. You never saw anything in the ad, in the paper about problems like they're having now.
Yeah.
Boy, I haven't been to church since my first husband died, because I got bitter, because on the way home I'd see winos. He died in Texas when we were there, but he was out of the Air Force then. But old winos on the streets drinking their wine, and here my husband was an asset to society and they were bums. And I thought, he lets them live and he lets my husband die. Don't smoke a cigarette.
I am not planning on it.
That's what killed him. They opened him up and he was black inside from smoking. And it went, when they opened him, the cancer went all over him. In Wilford Hall, the cancer center for the Air Force. But people won't listen to you when you tell them it's deadly and it's costly. Well, of course, he was in military, so he was in a military hospital. But his company, he was retired then, and his company said, we'll send you to any place in the world if you think you can get better care. He couldn't have better care than he had at Wilford Hall. They'd bring the x-ray machine to his room and check him and everything. But I had fun moving around.
What happened after the war? Like, what'd you do?
What did I do?
Did you settle somewhere? Did the money start coming back?
We had to cross country as soon as he came home. We had to move to California, and I'm trying to think, where did we go? Which place? I think it was the Sacramento area. And I think that's where we had our first home built. We could get a GI loan, and the interest rates was cheap, so we could afford to get one built. But we didn't stay there. I'm trying to think. Gosh, I moved so many times. that, James was born up in Sacramento. Oh, we were living in our house that we had built when James was born. And how long? Oh, my husband went to get some more college credits. But we weren't there too long till we had to move. I'm trying to think, where did we move from there?
You left your new house?
What?
You left the house you built?
We I think no. What did we do? We put it up with the real estate guy to rent for us. I sold it, oh, I don't know when. But anyway, I sold.
But it was easier to get money. Like you had more?
I sold it after Mary Lou lived in, and the people across the street from us, Mary Lou married their son, and they were real nice people. Judy lived in it after that, my other daughter. And anyways, John and I just decided to sell it. And the poor guy didn't have much money, so he gave a small down payment, and every month he sent money to the bank. And I never touched a penny of it until it was completely paid for. And then I had made money on the money, because then interest was better than it is now. So anyway, I still have the money.
Did you read any books back then? Like books that people wrote during that time?
I didn't read as much because I've taken care of 2 children and a husband, and we went out so much.
But when you did read?
What?
But when you did read?
I like the historical books about the history and the people and all like that. Now my husband likes science fiction. Did you see somebody?
Oh, I just saw a crow. I get distracted.
Oh, that grass, I'll be glad when they cut it for me. Gee. But I played more bridge than read. My husband was a nut about bridge. And we went dancing and all. But it wasn't as bad as I don't think it's as bad as what it is now with the soldiers coming home, because they could go to the doctor on the base and get care, and you never heard well, of course, I guess, I don't know what war had more deaths than or injured ones, but I know right now we've got too many. But it was a good life. I mean, I don't understand them making such a big deal of living alone, take care of the kids till the husbands come home. They married him, and here they're stepping out now, not then. The base commander didn't want it, and he was strict. And when you live on the base, you go by their rules. They used to come by and inspect your house to see if you was taking care of it. It was clean and everything. And so then one day they told me, "We're not coming here anymore." I said, "Oh, no. Every time we come, your place is clean." But anyway, it was a nice life, really. I didn't mind it, but you know, some people, they don't want to be moving all the time. Well, now, at my age, I don't want to be moving either. And I hope I don't have to. But since I own my own home and all, but I do have kids close to me, you know, living close by, so that makes it nice. And Elizabeth's been so wonderful. You've got the best mother and daddy in the world.
I know.
You know.
Couldn't have asked for better.
Oh no! And your grandparents in Canada, they are so nice.
They're fantastic. I think our whole family's pretty damn awesome, if you ask me, you know?